You ever wonder how to get your prayers answered? There's a secret ingredient. It's called God. And when we're one with God and one with all, everything you want, everything you're praying for is yours right now. Stay tuned. I heard this story about a man had gone to his minister and asked for prayer. And he says, I need prayer for my hearing. So the minister says, oh my goodness. So he takes him and he puts his hands on the sides of his head to his ears, and he goes into prayer, and he's like, heal this man's hearing. He goes all into it. And he says, so how do you feel, right? Expecting a miracle. The guy says, that's great, but my hearing isn't until Wednesday. We're talking about ask, receive. And one of the things that it's so fascinating about this new thought is prayer takes a different form than perhaps how we understood it before. And on your bulletins, Annette's been kind enough to kind of really write out the steps of treatment. Recognition, unification, realization, thanksgiving, and release. And I want to talk about these steps, but one of the things that we're looking at is the core concept of oneness. What is oneness? In Science of Mind, Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder, talks about oneness being this idea that God is all, God is in everything. There's nothing that exists except for that God is in that. But when we start looking at treatment, when we start looking at prayer, a lot of times we have had this experience with prayer that we are asking for someone, somewhere, to give us what we need. And my experience with prayer growing up was, now it seems kind of comical, but it was, the more intense it was, oh Lord, and beating your chest, and the harder you prayed, and the more intense you were about it, and the more times you repeated yourself in case God had a hearing problem, the more times it was like, we're just going to keep in prayer, we're going to keep asking. And some of the interpretations of, asking you shall receive, some of the interpretations say, keep asking for it, right? If you ask enough, right? And so certainly all of us have had this experience where there's that one thing you've been praying for forever. Let this one thing happen, right? And a lot of times we'll have, we'll bargain. Somebody's in the hospital when they're, okay, God, if you do this, I'll da-da-da-da-da, and you start lifting, you start bargaining, right? I'll do this, I'll make sure to now go to church, I'll do this, I'll do, if you help me with the financial situation, I swear this time I'll really pay tithes, right? We have this whole thing about asking. And the thing is that often the way that we're asking in it of itself tells you that you are not ready to receive it. Because the first step to a successful prayer is not asking. The first step, the first secret step of a successful prayer is what? Oneness. The first, and that's where we start with our spiritual mind treatment. We start with a recognition of the divine. I'm studying in ministerial school, the Kabbalah, and after one mere semester, I'm certainly not an expert on something that people have been putting serious mind and study to for thousands of years. But there are a few interesting points that really stuck out with me. And there's this idea of the Sephirot, or the inverted tree of life. This idea that there are aspects of the divine that match aspects that we have in us. So if we have chakras in our bodies, that, maybe that since God made us in its image, that it has chakras too. So there's a heart of God, just like I have a heart, an energetic heart. There's a mind of God, there's a divine mind of God, just like I have a divine mind of energy within me. I'm made in God's image. That makes a lot of sense to me. So when we start talking about oneness in prayer, What we're actually talking about, it occurred to me, that when I go into that root chakra part of me, that part that wants to feel secure, the part that wants a home, the part that wants to have a job, the part of me that wants to be anchored in my life, I know that there's a corresponding energetic part of God that has that same intention. So it's not about looking into my heart. Whatever I have in my heart is a mirror of what God has in God's heart. So all we're doing is expanding our ability, our capacity to experience that fullness. So my capacity in my heart, I'm looking for in my heart, I'm looking for outrageous love. You know, there are some passages in some of the writings I was reading about this extreme love for the divine. Extreme love. Have you ever experienced extreme love? Maybe your first love? Maybe it's something in your life that just really just blows you away and you can't stop thinking about it. And every time that idea occurs to you, your heart just expands and unfolds. When we have that extreme love for the divine, we open up our heart and we focus on not just one person, but on the whole world, on the whole idea of loving this divine energy. Because that divine energy of love, we are all like these points of light in the heart of God. So when we focus on the love of God, we focus on how that feels in our heart. We focus on how that feels in our spirit. What is it like to be in this essence of the divine where we just love, where we experience that bliss? How do we get to that point? It's not by knowing something in your mind. It's not by, I have these facts and I know these particular facts about God. Because knowing isn't going to make a difference at all. Having what I say in your head is not going to make a difference at all. The only thing that matters is having that one-on-one experience with the divine. That one-on-one space of meditation where you allow your thoughts to leave. And you're in the present moment, the here and now, right now. Nothing else exists. I'm not time traveling in the future. I'm not time traveling in the past in my thought. I'm just right here in the present. And I breathe in. And I experience that feeling, that knowing of that space of the divine in me. The more I focus on that space, the more I expand my muscles and my awareness, my ability to channel that spirit in me. So if I'm looking at a relationship issue and I want a transformation of a relationship issue at work, I want a transformation of a relationship issue in my life, I want a transformation in my relationship with my mother, I want a transformation in my relationship with somebody who's homeless down the street, the first place we look is never over there. Because there's one God, and there's one oneness, and all of it exists in our heart right now. So I go into my heart, and I expand my capacity to experience that bliss and that love of the divine. And in that space, I begin to know there is divine love. If you think about it, everything that exists is God right now. From all time. God operates in time, but God isn't bound by time. God has always been and always will be. Imagine all the love in the world that ever existed. Every person that ever had a dog that loved him, every person that ever had a child that loved him, every lover that ever looked into their partner's eye, that all of that love exists in one space and one time right here. And I'm going to breathe that in, that divine, pure essence, that bliss. Where does that come from? It's the mirror. We're the mirror of the divine. We're the mirror of God in this space right now. I ground myself in that experience. Just breathe that in right now. Just breathe in that experience. Knowing, experience your heart energy. Expand, expand. That anything that would be blocking it falls away. And in that oneness, we know that God is. The first step to this treatment is to not go any further in your prayer until you are so clear that you are that experience, that the rest of the prayer becomes a statement of fact. All of your energy in doing a treatment is in the oneness, in the experience of I am one with the divine. This is what God feels like. I'm treating for a relationship problem. I'm treating for something, you have a relationship or something going on. What is the first place I go? I go my heart. I go my heart is a mirror for this absolute perfection. And when I am absolutely clear, that's what God feels like. And God is all. There is no other thing. There are illusions. There are smoke and mirrors and things that seem real and facts and letters and legal proceedings and all of that. There's all of these things that look like separation, but the only thing that's true right now, in your heart right now, is that there is an absolute divine plan, that there is an absolute divine energy, that that essence is everything right now. There is nothing else. You can go back to the facts later, focusing right now on that essence. And when we are sure, if it takes you an hour on this part of the treatment to know deeply there's no other truth, then you move on to the other part of the treatment. Because you've experienced this so deeply, the next step of the prayer, you'll see this on your writing, the next step of the prayer is the unification. It takes no effort, none, to be clear that you're one with the divine when you have experienced it on that level. I don't have to convince myself. I don't even have to bring it into being with my creative word. I'm simply stating a fact because I know, I know that I am one with the divine and the divine is me. That divine energy, that perfect harmonious relationship, that perfect spirit of abundance, that divine wisdom, that divine love, that it flows through me. It is me. I am it. It is me. It is through all time. It is in everything that is. I know that that's true. And when I know that, I am unified. And so I simply state, I know I'm one with that. And there's no power on earth in any aspect, any place in the universe that has the power to separate us from this beauty. It just never existed. The only thing that can separate us from this experience of the divine is our free will that we have that says, oh, I think I'll be separate. I think I'm going to focus on the facts. I think I'm going to continue to make this person wrong. I think I'm going to just, continue to like gloat and be smug or, be whatever we're being. That our free will to do that, to surrender to an inferior power, is the only thing that can separate us from this power of the divine. But when we take on, no holds barred, there is nothing that's going to stop me from my experience of this divine presence, and I acknowledge its supremacy in my life. There is nothing that is more powerful than you. There is no fact. There is no history. There is nothing that can be created. And when you are in prayer and you know that's true, no weapon formed against you can prosper. It's impossible. So when you know that you are one with the divine, you also know that there are two prongs to that salvation, to that atonement, to that at one-ment. Not only am I one with God, but I'm one with my brother. I'm one with my sister. I'm one with everyone. So just like I am one, I know that I'm one with you too. And that can't be separated except for with conscious choice. So when I know that I am divine, divine mirror is inside of me, whatever God is inside of me, and it's expanding, and it's growing, and it's multiplying, and it's deepening, and my awareness of it is profound. And I know that I'm one with that, and I'm one with my brother, with my sister. Then the next thing that comes up, this realization, it's not an ask. It's a realization. You go, hey, Well, since I know that I am in this divine love, I know that I have this extreme love for the divine, and I have this extreme love for my fellow person, then what's true about that? So in the energy of that, knowing that I'm drawing on that heart space, I say that relationship is divine, perfect, and forever. That relationship is blessed. My relationship with my finances is blessed. My relationship with other people is holy. My relationship with my community is powerful. Who I am is unstoppable. There is nothing that can come against me. And when I know that, it is a realization. Am I begging someone? Oh, please. If you would just, I would just. No, it's not an ask. It's a realization. And when we're in the realization, we're like, hey, this all works. Because you know that as surely as you've spoken it right now, and there is no such thing as time, in this moment, in this sacred moment, this moment right now, this holy, sacred moment, it is so. Now, sometimes things take time to manifest in the physical realm. Sometimes things have to, you're in a healing. The body is healing. It may take time for the body to go through the process, but it's healed now. It's just fulfilling itself in perfect time. But even our bodies, when we infuse this outrageous amount of divine energy, how many times in the Bible did Jesus touch someone and they were miraculously healed? It's all based on our willingness to really, are we going to be extreme love for the divine? Are we going to be extreme love for oneness? Are we going to be extreme in our acceptance of who we are? The more we're willing to do that, the wider our channels. Ernest Holmes talks about a mountain stream, a mountain spring in the mountains in Colorado. I was listening to these old radio broadcasts. And all of it has this one source. It's all this one source that leads to the ocean. It's this one aquifer that is the source of these springs in the mountains. And each spring has a different velocity of how much it produces, right? What makes the difference between one spring being an outrageous gushing waterfall and one being a trickle? Well, it has to do with the channel through which it comes up. You have a small, kind of a cramped channel, you're going to get a trickle. You have an expansive channel, and it's going to flow. So the only thing that we are doing by our acknowledgement of oneness is we're expanding our capacity to channel this divine energy. Because God didn't favor one of those springs more than the other. Oh, I'm just made this way. Oh, I guess I wasn't supposed to have this. Oh, I guess I was just supposed to have this suffering. Well, maybe everyone gets that but me. I mean, the spring could say that to itself, right? But we have the ability to widen our channels. And the way to widen our channels starts with that first treatment. That first element of the treatment is expanding our awareness of oneness and knowing that that is so. Knowing and deepening our awareness and our experience of it. Not head knowledge, awareness. When we do that, we are thankful because it has already happened. And we experience that gratitude like, wow, that was cool. Knowing that it's already so. Like you're so convinced it's already so, you know it. You're in a space of like, this is awesome. We're just watering these flowers that already exist. And then instead of holding on to that and asking and praying and begging and hoping and looking, we release it. Knowing that it's so, because it has already happened. So when we looked at that Bible verse, it says, ask and it shall be given to you. There's no question like ask and maybe it will happen. When we go into the realization, it is so. Seek and ye shall find. Each of us is seeking that space in us. How do we widen? How do we live into this truth? How do we expand our awareness? How do we do this? Keep seeking. in that oneness phase. We're seeking an expression of God. I'm seeking this experience of the divine. I'm seeking to know deeper and deeper how Spirit expresses through me in a profound way. We're seeking it, and we shall find. We knock. We knock on the doors of our heart and say, let me expand. That door will be opened. The fact that you knocked is this realization phase where you're saying, I'm knocking on the door because I'm putting the universe on notice that this is what I have, right? It's the knocking, it's the awareness. This is mine now. Every single thing that is the desire of our hearts is ours. We have to look for the deeper messages of why we're asking for that. But the deeper messages always point to divine love. That we know that there is no greater joy that the Creator has, that God has. As we say in here all the time, than giving you the keys to the kingdom. What do the keys to the kingdom look like for you? What does that feel like? What does your life look like when you say, I've got the keys to the kingdom and this is what it looks like? Knock. That door will be opened. It's not negotiable. It's yours now. And sometimes it's good to be reminded when you see these prayers and we do these prayers and we see these formats. Why are we doing it in that format? It's because we have a secret key to the keys to the kingdom. And it's our awareness of the divine.